You learn things the hard way sometimes.
I had no problem sitting next to Donna Howard. She may not have liked sitting next to me, but I didn't have any problem sitting next to her.
Yeah. That's right. We had,
We're here.
oh, all right, folks. Gavino's not here yet, but we still got Francisco. And our special guest, Mr. Thomas, Robert Thomas. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
I was gonna ask you for a little bio, but before you do, in case you ain't seen my email, he's an AISD parent, PTSA parent, Booster Club member and officer, AISD Community Bond Oversight Committee member, Northwest Austin Civic Association board member, former chair and board member, Safe Place. I don't know. Anyway, former officer and board member, Austin Child Guidance Center. And there's a couple other things. He's a businessman and consulting group, all that stuff. But anyway, we'll go on with that. Tell us about yourself, what I didn't just mention. Is there anything I missed?
I'm Robert Thomas. I'm married to a lifelong Austinite, Amy Shaw Thomas. We have 2 children at Anderson High School, a junior and a senior, and love our community.
An all-around nice guy. I gotta tell you, I'm gonna share the story.
You know him before.
I gotta share the story with you. I moved here last year in February, and I was trying to get myself situated and figuring out what the political scene was like here, because I didn't really know much about Austin other than it was in Texas and it was the capital. You know, I'm from West Texas. You know, we don't know anything about what's going on in Central Texas unless it's told to us via the news. So I'm looking on Facebook to see what events were going on, and Robert had an event for his campaign, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go see what's going on. And so I went. Robert and I talked. I talked to his wife, and a few days later, I get this phone call, and
we already started, didn't we? We're all right.
Yeah.
You started
there you go.
Story. Go ahead.
Okay.
Quick.
Okay. So
we're doing time though.
okay. So we go to the event, and then a few days later, I get a call from Robert, and he's saying, "Hey, how you doing? Just wanted to thank you for coming over, and it was all great." And I'm like, "What type of politician does this?" You know, I'm like, "This is nice. This is absolutely phenomenal." And so I've been keeping up with what he's been doing and how the campaign was, and unfortunately, you know, it didn't go in your favor, but just a hell of a nice guy.
Well, that's because I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman and a dad who wanted to make a difference. And
we need more of those in politics. So anyway, yeah, usually I appreciate you coming on. Sometimes we have shows scheduled for a long time here at the Trailer Park Show, but we also like to. Sometimes we miss current events, and as you know, there's been a couple of current events that are fairly important. So I'd like to spend a few minutes with, if not Rosemary Lindbergh, and then Boston. As we all know what happened there, I don't know if we can speculate on. Of course, I think it is.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't be right to say who we think it might be, because we have our thoughts. Now, obviously, we've already had people on you said it was, I think it was CNN or one of the liberal media sites had already said that it was a right wing group that had caused this.
Evil white right wing groups.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be fair for us to do that because one, we don't. One, it's not right. Two, we don't want to go down to that level, especially at this time, because we've got to think about the people that have been hurt. I mean, we're looking at 12 people that have already, at this time, at least 12 people have passed away because of the injuries that they've sustained. There's about another 52.
That are really bad hurt.
Yeah, at least 52 people are still injured, and we don't know about their condition. And we have probably 200-300 people from Austin alone that are at the races or at the marathon. And from what I understand, I think we've been able to track virtually all of them. And there was a large group that are okay, but I think it's, well, I don't want to say it's safe to say, but I think we're almost positive that they're doing okay at this time.
Well, there is no question. I mean, it is a tragic day for our country. It's a tragedy that happened for some people a once-in-a-lifetime event. And whether it was terroristic, whether it was crazy, whatever it was just wrong. And I pray for our country, and I hope that we all come together to support each other at this time.
There are people here from all over the world. From what I understand, they do travel there.
It's by invite. It's by invite only.
I keep up with the Laredo television station, and tonight at 10, Channel 8 Laredo will be showing that the person from Laredo that was there.
Wow.
Will be on Skype or something. So there's people from all over. not just Texas, but all over the world. So that is kind of bad. But anyway, Rosemary Lindbergh is the top officer, top law enforcement. She's if a police officer gets busted the way she did, they're fired. If a truck driver gets busted the way she did, they lose their truck driver license. Now, she's already, at first, I was willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. It looked like a setup because this guy called in on her.
And here's what's going on, folks. We've got Pokey, who's getting in trouble right now for some of the stuff that he's doing off scene. But what happened with District Attorney Rosemary Lindbergh?
Oh.
The bottom line was this: she was caught driving erratically down one of the major roads, where she was even hitting the bike lane, and she was swerving onto the oncoming traffic. There was a concerned citizen who said, "Hey, we got a problem over here. Calls the cops." We have a veteran, I think, who has been in the force for 12, 17 years, who responded to the scene and did the profile, did the whole thing. Hey, how you doing? Drivers, let's go ahead and see if you can walk the walk and talk the talk. And lo and behold, they found out she couldn't. And of course, during the course of the investigation, she admits to drinking at a movie theater. She apparently had 2 drinks, or a couple of vodka drinks, although we don't know if the vodka drinks were related to the empty bottle that was found in her car, or if it was done at the movie theater or anywhere else it was going to be at. But she has this whole thing. She's becoming belligerent with the police officers because they know down.
Which one?
The county attorney, district attorney.
Oh.
Well, and the latest that I heard listening to Jeff Ward this afternoon on the drive was that she admits to several glasses of wine. She had several vodka drinks.
She was drunk.
They were questioning what that was.
She was drunk.
She said she's going to plead guilty, so.
They're going to plead guilty, so yeah.
So I guess the big question would be, okay, so she's gonna plead.
Robert Thomas.
And the big part would be, okay, is she going to receive the maximum penalty because she's saying that she deserves to have the book thrown at her?
I already read
is she going to get it? And if not, what is she going to get? And if so, what is it going to do for her job? My speculation is this: is that they're going to let her off. It's a first-time offense. They're going to slap her on the hand because, she has a position of power. And as I said before, membership has
incredible power.
Yeah, membership has its privileges. I've said that before, and if it goes through,
she can't step down because that would give the governor a chance to put in a real DA. And the Democrats have been running the district attorney and the county attorney. They've got a little circle of friends down there. For decades. And they've been running things, and they're not about to give up their power no matter what.
Let's see if they give her the same treatment they gave Tom DeLay.
Ain't no way. No way, yeah. I got a quote from where she said, oh, this proves that even elected officials have to be treated the same as for Tom DeLay. What did I do with that? Should I get out and try to read it?
And I imagine it's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
It's not going to happen because she's an elected official, and
she said she'll take the jail time, whatever. She will not step down.
And if she does serve time, is that going to affect her position as being an elected official? Is it going to mar her image?
Well, perception-wise, obviously.
Yeah.
Perception-wise, it's a tainted DA. But again, in Travis County, it's kind of expected, Yeah,
maybe even a job enhancement.
Yeah, it's a criteria requirement to have a DWI.
Yeah, I mean, that girl from El Paso, they gave her a standing ovation.
And I'm curious if they gave her flowers also.
Oh, they give Rosemary flowers?
I wonder if they give her flowers at her office.
Well, what's really disturbing to me is Chief Acevedo has really, he has gone above and beyond.
To crack down on DWI.
Well, to be a civic leader, right? Yeah. And to stand on a moral ground and say, I'm going to take a stance. And for him to have done that, and quite frankly,
that's true.
I mean, he's really made it a super high-profile issue, and quite frankly, something that goes probably beyond at the level of ownership that he's taken of it. And for the DA to have a person whose office prosecutes the significant number of those cases is a tough thing.
Well, at least Willie Nelson's up and forward. When he was on the show, what was it? It's no longer there anymore, but in New York.
Oh yeah.
And they asked him how often do you smoke marijuana? He says every day. He says.
He admitted it, huh?
Said, are you stoned right now? He said yes.
at least he didn't lie. Huh?
This is
Well, yeah.
This is going to open up a can of worms. Because I'll put it to you this way. Here's what I'm learning so far as a private citizen. If you get caught doing anything wrong, you run away. Okay, you're in your vehicle, you do something wrong, you run away. Why? A la Nastanzi. Okay, you run away from the cops and then don't admit to anything. If you do get caught, you don't admit to anything and just say, okay, why are you arresting me? Why are you doing this? And then you become belligerent as possible, and then apologize to the public and say, I'm sorry for doing this to the cops. I'm sorry for doing this. And then you hope for the mercy of the courts, because what's going to happen is that if she gets off easy, I'm going to ask for the Lindbergh special. I'm gonna say, give me what she's got. I'm not special. I want what she has. Get me off scot-free. I don't care what type of attorney it's going to be.
Eddie Rodriguez special.
Because here's what's
Eddie, our local.
You'll probably get the Eddie Rodriguez special since you're Latino.
How many days in jail was that?
Nothing. He got dropped cases.
His was no probable cause.
No probable cause. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
But it didn't say he was drunk. He was flat drunk to his face. But technically, there was no probable cause for him to have been stopped. And once that's declared, everything becomes obsolete. Because
if I get in front of the judge that's going to preside over this case, I want that judge. Because I want what she's going to get. If she gets off scot-free, I want him or her or that judge and say, give me her, give me that special. I'll be happy.
My question to Mary is, who was your cellie? Rosemary.
Yeah,
who was your cellie?
Where'd she get that liquor? Well, I in jail too. If you're gonna throw out bartender in jail,
it was at the movie theater.
Well, let's go throw that movie theater in jail.
Well,
the only one. Oh, she was seen there.
Well, they didn't say it was the element.
I would say that's the only one that I know that.
Yeah. So they said it was at the movie theater where she had a couple drinks there, and then whatever vodka drinks that she had afterwards, and they're gonna have to go after them.
It seems she didn't have no vodka drinks. She was swallowing vodka.
She had an open bottle in the car.
Yeah, that was Sergeant Sam this morning just speculating, pure speculation, that if she said she had vodka drinks, that may have meant she was drinking from that bottle. And again, that's pure speculation, but they were talking about how you have a vodka tonic, you have a screwdriver, a cosmopolitan, you don't have a vodka drink.
Yeah.
So they thought maybe that she was just trying to find an artful way to say I was participating. Well, I was partaking.
Remember, guys, that we live in a country where you're innocent.
But she's already admitted.
To proven guilty.
She's already admitted.
She said she's going to plead guilty. Is what she said.
But that's not a conviction yet.
It's not a conviction, but she's already admitted to the public, and the court of public opinion has already got her guilty.
And that's a totally different court, the court of opinion.
That's true.
That one you'll never be innocent.
That I really find interesting is the comment that she made that said other attorneys do this also. Other attorneys have gotten caught and they've been arrested, and nothing's happened to them because for whatever reason nothing happened. I'm like, this ain't. I don't know if this is right. Is she opening up a can of worms? I'm curious to see if anybody else has been arrested.
Well, and today I saw on the news again before I came over. There were, I think, 4 points that the news was showing that were constituted a reason that a public official, particularly a district attorney, could be asked to step down or removed for office. And one of those was public intoxication involving alcohol.
She needs to step down. It's the only thing proper to do, but she can't because the Democrats are in trouble if she does. They have done that downtown clique down there. They can't.
Well, the reality is the likelihood of, even if she does step down and the governor appoints a Republican, the likelihood of that person being able to hold on to that office in the next election cycle is slim to none.
That's true, but the fact of the matter is that he or she would be there for 3 years. She just walked in. She just got reelected in November.
That's true.
So who knows what this guy would find in that office in 3 years.
Well,
they're all friends with each other down there.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't question the integrity of, and I'm not suggesting you would, but I have no reason to think that they're not phenomenal district attorneys who are committed to doing their jobs on our behalf. This is a political issue, and this is a political stew. Yeah. And it's as you said, absolutely, Cisco, this is an issue of the public opinion's belief in whether or not the chief enforcer of the laws that we all have to adhere to is now tainted. So, but I have no doubt that that's that the district attorney's office is full of phenomenal assistant DAs who are going to carry out their job no matter. I was disappointed to hear, kind of like what you heard, that that she said that other assistant DAs have.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's an uncomfortable way to defend yourself.
Exactly.
What do you expect of a county that records a high volume of sale of alcohol this past year or this coming year? You know,
Yeah,
It just means we like to party.
uh,
We enjoy celebrating.
You expect more of your elected official, and you certainly expect more from your chief
Yeah.
elected criminal
every
enforcement.
session, they bust an elected official, a legislator for DWI. It hasn't failed in the last 4 or 5 sessions.
is that right? Every session, somebody gets popped
somebody
down
gets
there.
busted. Somebody gets.
My buddy Naomi.
What was her?
Yeah, Naomi just come into big town. Oh, I thought so big town.
Well, that's why I was saying that Rosemary has now joined the Travis County, okay,
Yeah,
DWI Hall of Fame.
she got up there with my favorite state senator, Gonzalo
Gonzalo
Barrientos,
Barrientos, Judge Bisco.
Judge
You
Bisco.
know, we're laughing about this, but this is, and you're right. That's exactly right. But it's really no laughing matter.
Yeah, you're right. We are laughing
If
about it.
she-
We shouldn't be.
If she had swerved across that lane that she
Or run over
apparently admits
somebody.
to and had struck someone on 620, we might be dealing with a fatality today.
And you know
And
these
That would
bikers,
be, that's exactly right.
they
The bicyclists, yeah.
they-
all
the
out
bicycle.
hours, yeah. And so, do you think that there would be a change? Because we have the dram shop laws here, where if somebody obviously gets hurt, they go after the businesses. Do you think that maybe there's going to be a change soon, where they're going to eliminate that, where they put the responsibility strictly
They need
on
to.
the drinker,
Yeah,
as
they need
opposed to the
to.
businesses?
Well, that's also an economic issue, right? So the public policy behind it, the dram shop laws, is that you also want to dissuade those who serve the alcohol. They want them to take responsibility. But it's also, the reality is, in the civil legal system, that's often the only way, if they truly have overserved someone, that a family who has suffered a loss that potentially would be able to recover. So that's a real sticky political as well as, civil
That's
redress issue.
trial lawyers looking to get money from somebody.
Well, I would advocate her community service hours be done with Push-Up Foundation.
Okay, what's the Push-Up Foundation?
It's rehab.
It's a rehab facility.
Oh, very nice.
Yes.
She could
rehab.
serve them to help.
She could
It's a
serve-
non-profit group, right?
It's a non-profit group.
She can serve at the morgue if you want. I'd be happy with
Well,
that one.
she
Let us
didn't,
come
she
to the
didn't
morgue.
go there, but Push-Up Foundation is an organization that receives inmates coming out of jail and rehab to try to come back into society as good.
It's over there on East Austin. It's
No, no,
been
it's
around a
Cesar
while.
Chavez and Chicon, Comal, somewhere around there. So she could do her community service there.
How much?
Well, I don't know how many hours they're going to give her.
Yeah, for a case like, I'm still thinking she's the DA. She needs to
But
just
you know
resign.
that legally, not whether it's Rosemary or not, people can always plea bargain, especially if you're first one. It's a misdemeanor.
So she should plea
So,
bargain
but-
out and do.
And the reality is that although they're elected officials and that we elect them and we expect them to be,
They are just people.
they're humans as well.
Right.
You know,
And-
so
and you're absolutely right. There are people.
this isn't the
however-
first time she's been drinking and driving. Let me
Right.
tell you.
But I would say this, because she is an
It
elected
ain't.
official.
No, obviously not. Just first time she got caught.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly. But because she is an elected official,
Oh,
she'll be held to a
absolutely.
higher authority.
Absolutely.
You know,
Oh,
Well, we should be held to the same lower standard she is,
Like I was
Which wouldn't be good.
sharing,
like you were telling me.
I was sharing with him on the Andy Griffin. There's a scene where
My lady's favorite show.
Gomer Powell.
He was drinking?
No. He Barney Five stopped Gomer Powell for making a U-turn.
Okay.
They stop and gives him a ticket. So then, and Barney Five in the vehicle makes a U-turn. So Gomer comes after him. Citizens arrest! Citizens arrest! You know? And then Andy arrives and what's going on? He said, well, he did na. And then he says, well, are you going to make him write out a ticket, Andy, or do we have two sets of law? One for the common people and one for the police.
Well,
It's the same thing here.
And it was just days ago that there was a citizen arrest of a young woman apparently who was driving in
Oh, yeah.
Austin, who was driving erratically. In fact, I think it was on the news the day before yesterday, right before Rosemary's issue. A gentleman followed her, just honking because she was so erratic.
And she almost hit him.
Almost hit him. She finally pulled over, 3 o'clock in the morning here in Austin. Pulled over, went to her to her door, got her to roll down her window, took her keys out, and then made her call 911. The police came and arrested her for DWI. So is that woman going to be treated any differently than Rosemary? I mean,
Probably.
we're all human beings, but the reality is, you know, we do hold those people to a different standard.
Right, but legally the law says what it says. And it doesn't say explicitly, but if it's an elected official, you know, we're going to go from 0 to 10.
That's just
that's the law.
But it's a little naive to say that certain people don't get better treatment.
The public opinion is a totally separate thing.
Well, and the public opinion affects,
very
but the public opinion affects, whether we like it or not, affects the legal process.
That's why she didn't want to go to a jury.
And that's exactly right. And I have to tell you, I guarantee you,
She's been around, she knows.
there is not a county court of law judge that handles criminal cases that wants to have a jury trial of Rosemary Lindbergh in their court, not with this Democratic-controlled system. There is the pressure in that. I'm not saying they wouldn't do their job, and they do it fantastically, but the pressure of having the top legal officer Democrat in their courtroom, and the pressure that comes about of the potential of her potentially stepping down, there's no way they'd want that.
Well, I just got to throw in my bias because I worked for the county. She was a colleague of ours. She's a nice lady, and what else? You know, so that's my 2 cents.
You can tell them about Christmas time if you want.
I clerked for the county attorney's office when I was in law school. I was very, very fortunate to go with and be allowed to go with some of the prosecutors to court.
Here in
Travis County. As a law student, I was allowed to, through the criminal defense clinic, I actually defended a woman, an Hispanic woman here in town who was accused of DWI, and I was with Dave Shepard, who was my mentor attorney. I absolutely tried that case on her behalf to preserve, help, and protect her constitutional rights. So I have great respect for our county attorney's office, our district attorney's office. As a lawyer, I have a lot of people I know in there, but you know, at the end of the day, everyone deserves their constitutional due process. This is America. No one, to your point, should be considered guilty. You know, they should not be guilty until they're proven as such. But at the end of the day, a public elected official, even with preferential treatment, still is held to a higher standard, maybe not legally, but in that court of public opinion. And that's an important distinction.
Right.
Well, legally, a cop and a truck driver are held to higher standards.
They are.
A truck driver will lose his license. There will not be a plea bargain. And a police officer, Art Acevedo, would fire him right off.
Well, there's some that have one. Remember that whole fiasco that happened when he did fire one? And
Not the motorcycle that crashed.
And then that guy went for
That's right.
an
I
appeal.
forgot about that.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
And there were other guys that came out and said, hey, well, so-and-so got a DWI. He's still on
And he
the
was
force.
allowed to have his job
And he's
back.
another one. Yeah, he pointed out
So I guess it's just truck drivers that got no choice. Even in your four-wheeler, you're going to get single aid.
Not CDL holders, I guess.
Yeah,
In
truck
general.
drivers.
CDL. Yeah,
Even
CDL.
even in your four-wheeler,
Yeah.
if you get caught with an open bottle, you done lost your license.
Does that apply to no-dose?
Probably.
You guys are fun. I'm glad to be at this table.
We got an important guest here who knows all about these darn school bonds.
Oh, my
And
God.
and not like last week, we can ask this guy anything you want.
And
He
I love
could
it.
actually
I
have
love
an
it.
opinion about that.
I've been playing around with
I
it
have a
for-
question, because there's,
Start us off.
okay, there are some central schools that are under capacity that, given the history of this particular bond, by the time they implement, let's say it passes, any of those repairs, those schools may be closed already. One in particular, Allen.
That's exactly right.
So what's going to happen, and this is what happens, is that they still keep it on the bonds, they have the voters vote on it, and once there is no school there, whether the board has the discretion to move funds around, and guess what? Those $1 million aren't spent in this particular school, now they're gone somewhere else.
To your point, I serve on the Community Bond Oversight Committee for AISD, and we are an advisory committee only. But we have voted to allot monies that were left over, they call it contingency fee monies, monies that were left over from the 04 and the 08 bond. to be used for some of these very same repairs that they're talking about in Proposition 3. In fact, 88 million, you can find this on the AISD website. It shows you, it breaks down by a pie chart. It shows you that $88 million from the 04 and the 08 bond monies have been left over, exactly what you said. Some of it was because of the Great Recession and they were able to build so much more cheaply. But you're hitting the nail on the head. There's nobody in our community that doesn't support our children. And the East Side children in particular have had the roughest, rawest deal. You know, undercapacity schools, underperforming schools.
Oh, definitely.
And the majority of those children, because of those situations, move to the Northwest to go to like the Anderson, my particular high school vertical team, and our community welcomes them. We're so happy to have them. But our response is, we are so overcrowded. At Murchison alone, I believe we have 20 portable buildings to handle the crush of capacity. Our high school, my son's lunch starts at 2 o'clock and 1:59 p.m. because there's so many kids in the high school, they can't fit them in a lunch period. They have to have they can't have pep rallies every week during the football season.
Wow.
Because they have so many kids. And when they do have pep rallies, they have to have a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. So our community says, great, we've got engaged parents, we've got high-performing schools, let them come. That's fine. We want every child in our district to be well educated. But it's a travesty that the folks in East Austin can't have a community school without being guinea pigged or tested, or it's a real issue.
So, are you on the bond committee? This one for passage?
Well, I'm not on
You're
the.
just doing info in general.
For today's, I am here in my own individual capacity. James asked me if I would come. I'm not authorized to speak on AISD.
He's associated with the coming up forum at Dale Jewish Community Center on.
But
we'll put that up in a little while.
Let me phrase the question another way. So you're basically advocating or giving information on the bond, not advocating yay or nay?
I am not advocating. I have some personal feelings. Okay. I feel strongly about 2 of the bonds. I feel propositions. I am very much conflicted about 2 of the other propositions for many of the reasons you said. I believe that we have a lack of leadership on our school board and our administration. We spent some time in 2010, 2011. I believe we spent almost $2 million hiring consultants to come in to talk to us about under-enrolled schools, population shifts, how are we going to change. So we could find almost $2 million or more to do this community-wide engagement, but then we didn't have people who were willing to step up and stand up, people we elected to make tough decisions to figure out a way to implement some of those changes. And it's exactly what happened with the chamber. I've been following AISD's trustees meetings, and I watched the board vote to authorize this bond, 2013 bond, and I also watched and followed up in the meeting that the trustees had, in which they voted in order to get the Chamber of Commerce to support it.
Right.
Right. So there's some real issues, and this isn't. And the problem is, we cannot be demonizing people about saying they're for children or against children, and particularly if you raise a question about a bond. What we should be talking about is, how do we educate all of our children? This is our community obligation.
Well, the issue of, I mean, it's a very I think, when was the last AISD bond that fell? It's been quite a bit, because
has whatever failed?
Yeah, because you get grandma, you get uncle. Oh, you gotta go out there and vote for Patty's school. They're gonna build a brand new art room and So you get all those folks out there, and it's always a low voter turnout to begin with.
Well, they did that on purpose.
Yeah.
The Statesman Editorial Board took the AISD Trustees Board to task and said, this is the largest bond package you've ever asked for. Just $1 billion. This is greater than the 04 and the 08 bonds combined. If this passes, we will have over $2.1 billion.
Debt?
Sorry. $2.1 billion in debt between, and it's primarily the debt. And their argument is, well, we still have such a good bond rating. Just because I've got capacity on my credit card doesn't mean I go spend it when I'm certainly not taking care of those children.
I got to go to my 2 questions in with that.
All right, brother.
The bond rating. Come on now. Link to form. No, here's the. All right, we'll start with this one. It seems some of the requests were ignored. The schools made requests, some of them were ignored. Have we paid off the last bonds?
We've not.
No.
The last two, right?
The last two.
We currently have $1.2 billion.
$1.2 billion in debt. How will the additional $800 million will impact our credit rating? Will
Well,
we still have great credit rating with
Well,
all
I
this?
think so long as we're paying it.
Is it a
we're
triple
okay.
A? What's the rating? Triple A or double A?
I'm not sure what it is, but
What do we
according
have?
to the information on the district's bond page, they say that we have, I think, the best rating, and that this should not or will not affect it. You know, but they talk about that this is going to result in, I think it was a $70 per year increase for a household that's $200,000.
They always say it that way. It's just a couple of dollars extra
Well,
per.
you know
The
what, in my
city sells
neighborhood-
it that way, the county
That's
sells
right.
it that way,
And
and
it keeps pounding up.
AISD sells, I mean,
A
the
little house,
ACC.
a little house across in my neighborhood just went on the market, and it's my understanding that it has gone sold for close to $500,000. A little tiny house, and you know,
2,000 square feet or.
less. I think it's 1950. Yeah, but close.
Yeah,
But
the point is-
the point is, when you take that that house does not exist in many places in Austin. You look at some of the close in what some of the houses are selling in East Austin close in now with gentrification.
Tell me about
it's
it.
unbelievable.
I live right there, smack in the middle.
So you understand.
I have a home that was there's a home that was just constructed catty corner to where I live.
Down on Holly Street?
No,
Holly-
in Pan Am. This one's on
Oh.
Pan Am, in front of Zavala Elementary School.
Oh yeah.
Brand new home that was just built, $700,000
I believe
is
it.
on the market.
I believe it.
And I just live across the street, you know.
So I think my house doesn't cost that much.
Well, and then
I'm happy.
but think about it.
$700,000.
So now you see why the business community, who desperately wants a good educated workforce, balked at $1 billion bond package. You see why they said, is this really the best way to spend our money? Well, we'll pay our taxes. We want to educate our children, but you better come with a much better strategic plan, and you better do it sooner than later to tell us how we're going to educate our East Austin kids, how we're going to do away with the overcrowding.
And you know what? After all these years, like at Johnson and all that, the question you just raised right now, I don't think they really care.
Then we
You know,
need, if they
it's
don't,
a conspiracy,
brother.
because you know, like, and I'll share with you, like in Mexico, education after the 7th grade you have to pay, or else that's it.
And you
But
get a
in
lot of them go
Mexico-
to trade schools.
Right, but in Mexico, the government wants it that way. They don't want too many educated folks, so that's why they have that policy to make sure that people do not get educated and rise and become aware
Well,
and
they certain people
knowledgeable.
And threaten the status quo.
Absolutely, and to me, that's the way I see AISD and how they treat East Austin. They know there's apathy. They know they don't get involved in PTAs. They definitely don't go out and vote. I was a member of the 04 Bond Committee with
Were
Mel
you?
Waxler.
Okay, sure.
He was the chairperson. And the same things we're talking about right now, under capacity and all that, are coming to fruition right now.
And they're not doing anything. They're not
No.
strategic. Well, and that's why I applaud the Austin Chamber of Commerce and others who said, we are absolutely pro-education, but you can't keep just putting, I think it was Trustee Schneider said from the dais during the debate of this to approve this 2013, and he voted for it, but he said, there are other districts, including HISD. There are other ways to not be putting a Band-Aid over, on top of a Band-Aid. It's a waste of money, and it doesn't fix the problem.
And we don't have anyone on the board that has the political courage to go into the redrawing of boundaries.
That's right. And we have to.
And as long as we have that, yeah, you're going to close 4 in the central city and open 4 out there by Westlake or Southwest Austin and Deep South,
And you're going to keep all the others open.
And you're going to keep all the others open.
And that's what this bond does. That is why this bond package, you just nailed it. What they did to get around, I finally realized it looking at the specific propositions, what they did to get around the political, or find some political courage that they didn't have, was they figured they'd offer a $1 billion bond package, and if you look at Proposition 2, which I support, Proposition 2 fixes the education, or sorry, the overcrowding in all of the very overcrowded elementaries in particular, but overcrowding by building new, and it also authorized building, is it 3 or 4 brand new?
3 brand new
3
schools.
elementary schools based on population growth.
But so we're going to lose, and on top of that, we still haven't, from the '08 bond election, we still haven't built the new high school in Southwest Austin to relieve the significant overcrowded in Bowie. We've just finally, from the '08 bond election, finally just purchased the land off Runberg to relieve crowding in North Central. This is not the right way for us. And I understand there's some limitations on finding land, and there are some issues about, but those are tens of millions of dollars. And these are people's lives we're talking about. We've got to make sure, to your point.
Right. Well, we have, when I worked with Commissioner De Leon in the county, obviously I was inside government, if you will, and got to learn the culture of the environment out there. And when you have a CEO that's being paid $250,000, well, that CEO lives around that type of environment, of spending. And so $100,000 or $50,000 little pieces, and it's, that's nothing,
And they talk like it's nothing.
Yeah, it is.
Even in the Community Bond Oversight Committee, I'm amazed sometimes to hear staff talk about, they get used to such large numbers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have many, many members of our committee that are saying, because of the Oversight Committee, our role is to make sure that the bond monies are spent consistent with what the voters approved. It's, some people say they feel like it's just a rubber stamp, that they don't listen to us. But the thing that's really interesting that I was going to say about that is, the thing that frustrates people is you have people on this committee that are saying, when are you going to do diversity impact study to see even the monies that we have passed to make sure that the women and minority contractors are getting their fair share? But the staff keeps telling us that Dr. Garstarfin keeps saying that they can't find $600,000, but they're spending all this other money like it's water.
And they have a savings account, don't they have like a rainy day fund?
They have a tremendous
reservation.
Yeah, where they have a large amount of money that they can use for probably a third of this stuff that they're looking at. Now you mentioned something that was kind of interesting, where you mentioned how each proposition is set up. And the way I'm getting it, or you were saying how each one was set up, and the way it sounds to me is that they set these propositions up to intentionally possibly fail based on the dollar values?
No, I'm sorry. I was saying that this is just my personal belief, but in order to address population shift and growth when they couldn't close schools, instead of doing the hard decision to close schools and re-engineer how we deliver education, they said, fine, we'll leave all those schools open. We're going to ask for $311 million in Proposition 3 to fix all those schools, including those that are 45, 50% at capacity, right? Because those children deserve, and we demand that they be in a safe school. They have to have air conditioning in the summer, they've got to have heating in the winter, and they've got to have warm lunches. So we've got to keep, we've got to pay for that. But instead of making the tough decision so we can redeploy those monies in a smart way, why don't we just ask for Proposition 3 for $349 million so that we can fix all the systemic repairs, which amount to $311 million across the entire district.
Right.
And that's what I'm telling you, that $311 million figure correlates exactly to what the staff told us on the CBOC, that was their wish list if they could fix every problem at every school across the district. What that doesn't talk about is that $88 million from the 04 and 08 bonds that we've already voted, that we asked the board to approve to fix those systemic repairs. That's things like roofs and HVAC systems, right?
Because that was the thing that you and I were talking about prior to the start of the show, where I was looking at the 2008 bond, and there is virtually the same request from 2008 as 2012 at the same schools, where they want to systematically fix air conditioning in one section, and then now for this bond election this bond, they want to fix another section. It's like, why don't you just fix the whole darn thing and go and be done with it?
Or open the window.
Or open the window. Exactly. It was hot. You're right. When I was going to school, it was hot. You raise up the window.
Come on now.
And you hope that the window doesn't fall down on your head. But that's what they had, sticks.
Maybe this was the reasons of my education. I was going to Johnson when I had B-52 bombers flying all over our class, at between 1 and 3 in the afternoon every day.
From Bergstrom?
From Bergstrom.
Yeah.
You know,
Used to
big
be
old
big
52
base.
bound.
Yeah.
They got a real long flight path.
So that 1 hour or 60-hour class turned into be about a 5 or 10 minute
So, what? But you know,
But they never made a bond proposition to put a sound barrier or sound, you know, for Johnston.
But you know, HISD.
Well, back then, you know.
And you know, Dr. Karstarfin, our superintendent, even was at a meeting, I believe it was the Downtown Austin Alliance, and they asked her, is this really, you know, she was asking the various organizations to endorse the package, the bond package, and they asked her, you know, is this really the right way to be spending the money? And I'm paraphrasing now because you know, this is, you know, I wasn't in it, but this is what I was told. But people were incredulous when she said, you know, really we should be doing things like Houston are doing. We should be re-engineering and changing the way we deliver education. Houston is now getting away from the elementary and middle school, and they're building brand new facilities based from their 2010 strategic master plan. They're completely changing the way they deliver. They have 5 simple points that they say is their basis of their strategic plan. One of those is to, one of the things they're doing to effectuate that is to say grades K through 8 now are all together. Now they obviously do things to make sure there's safety and all those, but they realize we have these infrastructure needs that are so great that it doesn't make any sense to have arbitrarily separated those kids. Let's re-engineer for consistency. You know, how do we, as they say, they want effective teachers in every classroom, effective principals in every school, rigorous instructional standards and supports, data-driven accountability, and a culture of trust through action. And they take themselves to task and say, we've been trying to fix these underperforming schools and it hasn't been working. It is time to do something radical to make a difference so that they're not just guinea pigs anymore. We're Austin, Texas. We can do that too.
I love their language that they use, and that's a result of a master's degree. And you get
So
creative.
what does that mean? People actually
No,
understand it? Or?
you get creative and you do these kind of,
The bullet point?
yeah, the bullet point.
But when you
know.
look at, they've got a 12-page document I pulled off online that goes into detail and talk about what each of those things and the things they're doing to make those happen. And they chide themselves for the very things that we chide ourselves about underperforming schools in East Austin, under-enrolled schools in East Austin, but we're not doing anything about it. And this $1 billion bond package isn't going to fix that.
Let me ask this question. How many meetings has Dr. Christopherson attended in East Austin to try to get these bond passes? Like she has gone to the Chamber of Commerce, like she is going to all these other facilities?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Again, or is East Austin already, you know, blown away, you know, what?
Written off?
Yeah, we're written off, you know.
They're going to send all the kids to one of the other schools that do better and then just
Well,
close up everything there.
Now what's
And
bad
they go to
about
Vegas.
this practice?
What's the question?
What's bad about this
About
practice?
writing off East Austin like that?
No, a morning session and any afternoon session.
Oh,
We have
cool.
people
That's
that
cool.
in Mexico that go in the morning,
Yeah.
and you have another group that goes in the afternoon.
Here's what I would propose. If there's a large volume of, if it's dealing with overcrowding, if that's the issue, because if you have morning and afternoon, that's the main reason why they do those type of sessions, is because there's
Right.
overcrowding.
Right.
The other suggestion is go to year-round school. And you do 3 months. You do 3 months on. You do 1 month off, and you can have like 3 or 4 different cycles within the school and still be able to teach these kids.
But you still have to have an infrastructure. As you were pointing out, we've got schools that are almost 100 years old.
Right.
We're asking the community to spend money to keep patching those. What I'm saying is, we need to
Go to
think.
Zavala. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
No. Go ahead and make a comment. I just wanted, if he could
Oh,
go to
go to
Zavala,
Zavala.
see what they're gonna, what they're proposing for Zavala. But go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I just feel strongly. You know, Houston.
Well, is that a middle school?
Elementary.
Elementary. Houston is creating 20 new high schools. They're completely starting over. They're going in and changing the way that 20 brand new high schools. They're replacing 4 high schools, and they're renovating 3 high schools. They're converting 5 elementary schools to K through 8, and they're building 3 brand new elementary campuses, and they're completely replacing replacing 2 middle school campuses.
That's right.
So now, when they're combining K through 8, obviously you made a comment earlier that they're trying to make sure that there's obviously some concerns about the upper level kids interacting with the younger kids. And for me, when I was going to
They
school,
don't want the 8th graders beating up the 1st graders?
exactly.
Would not be a good idea.
Wouldn't be a good idea. When I was in El Paso, I was going to one elementary school, and they made us stay till the 6th grade. And then when we went to junior high, we stayed there for 2 years, and then we went to high school. And what they were trying to do is trying to transition the school process so that you had, I think, 6th to 8th in a middle school function or in a junior high function, because their concern was the fact that there might be some type of interaction between the older kids and the younger kids. What are they? Have they said how they're trying to minimize that interaction or trying to prevent anything?
I did not look specifically to that, but you know that Houston Independent School District is not going to allow a situation to exist where children are being, potentially would be harmed. There are so many ways structurally to take care of that. You know, they're building, you know, whether it's separate entrances and to keep the kids separate and those kinds of things. But when you have a consistency from K-12 of a principal enforcing, when you have a great PTSA organization that is working all the way from K-12, K-8, those bring some real powerful things to bear. Let me just say, I love this quote. Their superintendent, Terry Greer, says, "When this work is finished, Houston will boast the most modern portfolio of urban high school campuses in America. For years, HISD has been a national model for other urban school districts that are striving to simultaneously close the achievement gap while raising the level of achievement of all students, including the high performers." So he's looking at this, their board is looking at this at a comprehensive global level, saying it's not just enough to reach it, because folks, we are an urban school district.
Yeah, we are an urban school
It's not enough just to look out and try to raise the achievement gap, which we failed at doing, by the way, in some of our communities, but we also need to make sure that the high achievers are also taken care of.
Well, I want to ask the board, I've been trying to get President Torres to come on, but I want to ask the board, how are you going to sell the bonds to East Austin when you're closing one of their schools? It's just, but I was looking at Zavala. You have a total, right? Do you show a total for Zavala?
3,037,400.
Zavala in 2004 was an issue of debate and discussion. We wanted Zavala to be just, you know, removed. It's too old, 75 years old.
Yeah.
Well, at that time, we had Rudy Montoya, who was our school board member, and we had these infamous UT liberals that go to Zavala every
You said it,
day.
I didn't.
Your conservatism is
I know,
showing.
I know. Well,
That's
no. And they manipulated the whole bond process to equal, oh, Zavala's historical. We don't want to build it to Zavala.
Before you showed up.
Historical.
Before you showed up.
And look at what they're going to spend right now. Almost $3 million. At that time, we had the opportunity, because Pan Am was going through a facelift.
Yeah.
We had an opportunity to flatten both buildings, start from anew, have a more modern elementary school with a high-tech infrastructure, have a modern facility, Pan Am, that could collaborate with the schools and sharing and everything else. But no, it's historical. And look at now, what the taxpayers are paying. That is.
And that's what we were just talking about earlier. We were talking about the whole
We're
fact
going to have to hurry up, because I did also want to talk about some of these,
Well, let me
keep going.
Well, I'd like to make point, and you know.
I mean, we got like 10 minutes, so.
Well, I'm going to be quick. I really
for it.
think that, you know, for me, it's a no-brainer, because look, we have to pay for good government and we have to pay for education.
Right.
I do not like the
You got to have good sewers. I mean,
but I do not like the superintendent coming to a district-wide arts event and banging on the legislature for an infrastructure issue about the politics of what happened. But the real issue is we've got to be able to pay for good education. And so because of that, you know, I look at this, and Proposition 2 makes perfect sense to me. We're going to build elementary schools where the population supports them. We're going to increase and add on and construct more physical places for you know, the schools that are overcrowded. So I think that makes sense. The one that isn't getting much talk about that I think is also critical is Proposition 4, and that is dealing with academic initiatives, fine arts, and athletics. And the reality is, folks, we share all of our athletic facilities. The whole district does. And you know, having a parent who is you know, my son played basketball for 2 years. He was on the varsity soccer team. this last year. My daughter is a Trojan Belle. The state of our stadiums and our athletic facilities across this district are horrible. There's not enough bathrooms for the women. They are falling apart in some instances, depending. We have got to figure out a way to create a safer place. And there is so much evidence that says that spending money on athletics is a good place. And this isn't like Westlake or Lake Travis where they got big. I'm just talking about just giving us a safe. I mean, anybody that's tried to get in and out of Berger to go, to football games or whatever, it's a mess.
Yeah,
Now, when you
that's
talk
our
about
neighborhood, Berger.
Now, one of the things that I wanted to add on or ask about this part, because for me, my daughter goes to McCallum High, and I can see where you're talking about, improving stadiums, fixing up some of that stuff, because if it's in disarray, you got to fix it.
Right.
But I believe in this proposition, they're talking about building new buildings to go ahead and make accommodations for certain schools. McCallum and McCallum's one of the schools where they're trying to build a new fine arts.
They got that. That was in the 08 on bond
They're talking about doing it on this one.
Another one?
Yes.
McCallum just had a brand new.
They're talking about building a new one because of all the interaction that's going on between one sports group and two classes. And one of the teachers.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, one of the teachers is saying, we've got volleyball going on over here, and then we've got some other thing going on over here, and the kids the kids are looking at each other. And that was basically the response, and they're saying we've got to have some type of privacy. We've got to have their dance group, because volleyball is going to be looking at them, or the basketball team is going to be looking at these girls doing dance, and we can't have that.
Yeah,
it's like, if they're going to be
That's what we heard at the school board meeting.
We have,
and they have that building, obviously, but they want to build another one.
They have a brand new state-of-the-art
and where are they
building
gonna
that
put
was
it?
just opened for this academic school year. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and where are they going to put it? There's a parking lot that they can probably put it on, but you know who uses that? Band every morning during the fall season, and all the students that have to park. Because they only have a small parking lot in front of the school itself.
James is going to get us going. What do you all think about this in Proposition 4? This has been up, the $20 million to renovate the old Anderson High School to make it for the School of Young Men. How does the East Side community feel about some of this, like the idea stuff, and we're going to renovate that building, and then we're going to move this. I mean, how
segregate.
Yeah, well, how is that? That's $20 million is a lot of money, and I don't know. I want to support whatever the community feels is right, but this seems like an explosive issue.
Well, again, we do have a lot of opinions. We do have a lot of contributions in the dialogue thing. But again, it comes down to the bottom line. Zavala, 50 voters. Metz, 110. So what does the school board say here? I don't care what they think or whether they like it or not. We're going to do it anyway.
Do you think it's appropriate?
Unfortunately, that's the answer to your question.
And
the board looks at the results. Go by it. 20 people voted.
Have a men's academy, they're gonna.
But again, on all this, over all this issue, the only way we can testify or get our input is to vote. April 29.
And it's also to study.
Yeah,
the stuff that's in there.
That's so critical.
Well, I don't have the time and money to study. Just by the big numbers I'm being shown, I'm telling you, it's not, for me, it's not a go. But it is true that if you look at the website, read it, study it, and
if you have questions, we're going to show you places you can go here. I'll take pretty soon. Put them up there.
April 24th, the Dell Jewish Community Center. We're having a wonderful panel, 6:30 to 8:30, that's going to be addressing these issues.
So when you go vote, make sure
early voting the 29th,
the 29th. Go to the website, Travis County. You'll see all the locations. I think AISD also has them posted. But when you go vote, make sure you take your voter registration card. If you don't, you'll take an ID.
No, put the announcements up.
But in this time,
there it is.
When you walk into that voting poll, you also need to pull out your wallet and sign that blank check, because that's basically what you're doing. If you vote for this,
you vote for this,
you're voting for that increase on your property taxes at the end of the year. And for those of us that are in East Austin, you're voting your exit out of East Austin, because that is definitely going to kill us. It's going to kill me.
The mayor announced in February this year that he's going to come back to push rail.
Oh.
They showed us that was going to be $1 billion. At the very least, that'll be $1 billion bond package. The county is coming for talking about looking how to fund their new jail, That is anywhere up to half a billion dollars. ACC has not had a bond election in a long time, and they're exploding. You've seen what they've done. Their trustees, you know, stood back from voting last year, moving a bond. So, you know, when you look at all of the global bond initiatives, we need some transparency and show us what everything is together, not just on a fictional $200,000 house.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you know,
we're down to 3 minutes. I did want to go over your confirmed panelists for the 24th. That's out at, where's that at?
The Dell Jewish Community
Dell
Center.
Jewish Community Center on Hart Lane. You've got Vince Torres, AISD trustee and board president.
Yep.
hello.
Yeah, who's this? Robert Schneider, AISD trustee.
Yep, another trustee.
Lawrence Fryer, AISD chief operating officer. Drew
Chevrolet.
Greater Austin Chamber of Commerce, senior vice president. Stefan J. Molina, Greater Austin
Molina.
Hispanic Chamber of Commerce director, foundation and program development. John Caliandro, Texas Conservative Coalition executive. So that sounds like a pretty impressive bunch.
And we may have Peggy Venable, who
Texas for Prosperity.
well, she's education. I can't remember exactly, but we reached out as a neighborhood association. We wanted a diverse group of smart, connected, knowledgeable people, and we want lots of people to come and hear them talk so they can do exactly what he just said. We have got to be educated about what you're voting for. So come out April the 24th, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Hear some really amazing, impressive people talk about these very issues.
Answer any question you got.
And if you have any money left, join us on June 29th for the 4th of July parade and our Jamaica at Cristo Rey. This is June 29th.
You can't get because it's going to be.
I've got a new colleague right here, right here.
If you have any money left,
Come down, 4th of July parade.
So I really appreciate you guys having me on, and I hope I added something to
Oh,
you certainly did. There's so much that I think you should
strongly respect your earnest honesty
Thank you,
on this bond, regardless of what direction, and it's part of the education process. You know.
Put the power up, Mo.
Are we gone?
Yeah, we're still up.
Oh, okay.
It says
But
15:30, so we got
get involved and vote and don't complain.
Yeah, go to these things.
You can complain.
Yeah, but said if you don't vote,
You can't
You can't
complain.
I fully agree with you on that.
maybe I threw it out there wrong, but thank you for catching
Now we got a
that.
minute left. Yeah, this thing on the 24th looks real good. There's plenty of room out there, I know.
Yep, we've got at
But,
least 100. We expect at least 125.
And you would think they would want to host a meeting at the Anderson facility to get engaged, a pulse of the community, see what they think. Hey, what do y'all think? You're sitting in a building, we're
On
going
the
to spend
17th
$20
is
million.
Bowie High
What do you
School.
think?
Well, that's
On the
what-
25th is Summit Elementary.
Well, to your point, and I got to get this into your point. I was told, and I don't know this is true, but if you come to my neighborhood, you'll see some of the AISD signs to vote Prop 1 through 4. I was told that the district knows that they cannot get a bond passed if they don't get Northwest and Southwest engaged. So that's why they're pushing
Oh,
those
yeah.
communities.
So that's
And
where
if
they're-
they're ignoring the east side, that's a travesty.
Oh,
All right, well, 10 seconds, folks. So get on out there. We'll be back next week. Channel Austin, stick with us. Gavino, LULAC, we're doing lots of good things here.
We didn't
Anyway.
even get the legislature.
We didn't even get to anyway.
We'll do it next time.
I think that means we're off now.
Okay.
It goes off at 58.